Yes, indeed. It is called Lothric, where the transitory lands of the Lords of Cinder converge. In venturing north, the pilgrims discover the truth of the old words. The fire fades, and the lords go without thrones. When the link of fire is threatened, the bell tolls, unearthing the old lords of Cinder from their graves. Aldrich, saint of the deep, Farron's undead legion, the Abyss Watchers. And the reclusive lord of the profaned capital. Yon the giant. Only in truth, the lords will abandon their thrones. And the unkindled will rise. Nameless, accursed undead, unfit even to be cinder. And so it is that ash seeketh embers.
Well, hello everyone. This is French Bread, or Chris, if you prefer. And welcome to the first episode of my lore run of Dark Souls 3. And to start up, let's just get our character rolling here, and I'll start discussing kind of some of the baseline details of this run. Get our name in here. Alrighty. And go with our class. We're gonna run with a Pyromancer for this build, because Pyromancer is just kind of like a base all-rounder starting class. It's gonna let me get into some things that I wouldn't do on a typical character. Things that are a little bit outside of my style, but will let me experiment with and take in the lore a bit more. Starting gift. Figure we either go Fire Gem or the Sovereignless Soul. We'll do... It's not highly necessary for a Fire Gem. But we'll go with it for thematic purposes. Do a quick check. Switch that up. Alright. Now we're just about ready to start. And before we do start, because I'll be wanting to look around a bit, the nature of this lore run is basically going to be me playing through the game, start to finish, scouring for kind of every bit of information I can, all the item descriptions, all the NPC quests that, I can conceivably have access to in a single play of the game, and using that to sort of piece together what's going on in Dark Souls 3. I've already completed the game about 3 times now. Uh, I'm familiar with the broad strokes. I'm familiar with a lot of what's already going on. I've done my research, so I have a lot of threads with regards to the lore and kind of the larger mysteries of Dark Souls 3 and how they may or may not connect back to previous games. But for all those mysteries, they are indeed mysteries. There's no concrete answers here, as is really, standard for a Souls game. It's as intended by the developers. So I will try to keep most of what I talk about within the realm of reasonability. I'm going to make conjectures. I'm going to theorize, but I will endeavor to make it very clear when I am stretching or kind of just basing what I'm saying more on like what feels right as opposed to what is really substantiated by information we get in-game and from other Dark Souls titles. So without further ado, let's just get the ball rolling. Cemetery of Ash. And we, the Unkindled, have risen from one of many, many graves here in this Cemetery of Ash. These are all developer messages. They're just explaining to us the absolute basics of Control. Luckily, I'm familiar with the basics of Control and don't need to worry about these too much. But yeah, so we're undead. Our player character, that is undead in this game. And that's kind of like one of the first questions that comes up, right? We are... Let me just check something. Okay. We are the Unkindled, a variety, I suppose, of undead that are apparently even bigger failures than regular undead, unfit even to be kindling for the bonfires, I suppose, or for the Age of Flame in general. I'm not sure. Regardless, it appears as if at this point in time in the lore here of Dark Souls, the Unkindled rise as a necessity when, the bell tolls for telling, as the narrator told us, the end of the Age of Fire, or the fading flame. And the lords are supposed to kind of take their place on the thrones to most likely sacrifice themselves to perpetuate the era of fire. And I suppose when the lords are not agreeable, when the lords decide to peace out, the Unkindled rise to wrangle them back in. And that is who we appear to be. As for who this appears to be, obviously Dark Souls 1 players will recognize the Elite Knight armor of Astora and what is certainly the Blue Crest shield in the Astora straight sword. All popular items from the first game, but we'll get more into those as they become relevant. Let's clear out this immediate area, and then we'll discuss a couple other things before we move forward. This little hand axe is actually a bit different from the battle axe. I haven't started as the Pyromancer before, so feeling out the moveset on this weapon. Good damage, but nope, missed parry. Good damage, but it seems to swing just a little bit differently than what I'm used to on the slightly larger one-handed axes, or regular axes, whatever you like. We'll go down here, but we'll go down here just a bit later. Alright, with the way forward cleared, let's just stop and take a moment to kind of figure out who we are, right? See if the items we have on us will tell any tales. Fair warning, I don't know how much every item will contribute. I'm pretty sure this hand axe here, favored by pyromancers of the Great Swamp. This axe has short range, but only moderate weight and reasonable damage. Easily wielded and more powerful than it appears. I agree with that. Basically what I was just saying. So it's a apt description. We also start with the Pyromancy Flame, the catalyst used by pyromancers. No lore here, but you can see that in this game, combustion, as opposed to being a spell you attune, is the weapon skill of the Pyromancer Flame. So you always have something on hand as long as you have FP on you. The Caduceus, or Caduceus, round shield. Standard wooden round shield, decorated with twin snakes, an ancient symbol of the Great Swamp. You know, that design makes me think of our old friends, the primordial serpents, Frampton, Cath. There's always common speculation that it was two heads, one snake, you know what I mean? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Check out the Pyromancer crown here. Tire of Pyromancers, the Great Swamp. A leather crown with animal bones. In the Great Swamp, it was thought that adorning oneself with natural fauna would provide protection from the flames of pyromancy. 4.8, I don't know. Is that good enough protection? And this one notes that the bronze ornamentation was used ritualistically in the Great Swamp to ward off evil spirits and keep darkness at bay. Naturally, flame-obsessed, fire-addled pyromancers are going to have a aversion to the darkness. And we're looking at our trousers here, tightly wound with leather and fitted with dermis split-toe shoes. A life of trudging through marshland. You know, I was actually thinking about that earlier. The shoes here, they kind of remind me of, you know, wearing plastic bags on your feet. You know, if you want to keep your shoes on, but you don't want to dirty a location, you sometimes see it worn, like in crime dramas or something along those lines. Get that impression here as well. We're also lucky enough to have a Great Swamp ring, said to be chiseled from the bone of a flame salamander by blighted pyromancers living in the Great Swamp. I wonder what it means by blighted. We know from Dark Souls 1 that Engi was a pyromancer who was exiled from the Great Swamp for his noxious pyromancies. I wonder if the legacy of those live on in the so-called blighted pyromancers. Further description here says it's believed that salamanders are descendants of demons, born of the chaos flame from which pyromancy is said to have originated. I think that's kind of a throwback to, old stories of salamanders being birthed by flame, because they would scatter from wood piles when they were set on fire, set alight. The Estus Flask, an undead favorite. The journey of the undead has always traced the bonfires, and no journey of import has been made without an Estus Flask. Fair enough. But new to the game are the Ashen Estus Flasks. Quite befitting of an unkindled, an Ashen Estus Flask turns a bonfire's heat cold. And I guess the unkindled sea, in just a little bit, are kind of described as seeking that warmth of the flame, but never quite being able to obtain it. Over here we have our dark sign, proof that we are indeed an accursed undead. The dark sign X, returns us back to the bonfire. It'll eat up all our souls. Basically, you only ever use this if you've gotten into a bad situation, glitched through some geometry, and you just can't get out. Carriers of the dark sign are born after death and eventually lose their minds, turning hollow. And so they are driven from their homelands. That is the traditional accepted reality of being undead. You can't really die, not as far as we understand it, but eventually either your long life or your repeated deaths or the weight of everything else will cause you to lose your mind, and the process called hollowing will take hold. Dark Souls 3 has some new insight into hollowing that we won't get to right just yet, but there's more to hollowing than we've previously been led to believe. Nothing to say here. Souls, you pop them and get a little bit of currency. The Black Separation Crystal, online item. Way of the White Circlet, online item as well. I think it's kind of like a get out of jail free token if you do underhanded things like DC from a PvP situation. It eats up one of these. We don't need to worry about that. We'll be playing offline, simply because I don't need phantoms running around, bloodstains everywhere, messages that expose things I don't need exposed. It's just be a more natural experience if we play offline. This is the gift we chose, the fire gem. It'll let us infuse a weapon to make it of the fire alignment. There's not a lot of lore here. Just says that in rare cases it's found inside demons. Well, given what we've already read, that's no big surprise. Alright, let's truck. Let's keep moving along. This game certainly delivers the vistas. It certainly does that. And above us, let's see if we can catch a better view of it. Above us and before us. Before us is our destination. It's a location of some importance. But behind us, an equally important location that we can identify reasonably to be Lothric, the land where the Lords of Cinder converge. Not related directly, I do not believe, to Anor Londo, the famous city of the gods from Dark Souls 1. But there are connections. We'll get to them. Let's rest at our first bonfire here. Get ourselves the rest emote. Nothing more we can do here though. This is tutorial land. Alright, let's chop through some of these rogued hollows, which are not the most interesting enemies in the game. My first time through, I was a little worried seeing these guys, because, you know, they're just some skinny, pale hollows and some blue robes. Not a lot, not a lot of interest there. And I was dreadfully frightened that we would get more, shall we say, uninspired designs that I kind of felt weren't the rule, but occurred with some frequency in Dark Souls 2. Picked up ourselves a Titanite shard, gets our weapons to +3. As usual, shards of the legendary slabs, blah blah. Plunging attack. Chop through that dude. Very happy to see the guard break riposts, or counters, whatever you want to call them, from Dark Souls 2, I should say, making a return. One of those few mechanics that were added in Dark Souls 2 that I really do appreciate going forward. We haven't used our pyromancy at all. Maybe we'll try it on our friend here. God, great set piece. That's a big old coffin. I don't know. It certainly looked as if the Lords of Cinder all rose out of coffins located around this bell tower area. But I don't really see a lot of individual coffins that strike me as being or belonging to the Lords of Cinder that we were introduced to. This one, if anyone's, would be, I think, Yorm's. But it's clearly overgrown by this tree, so not sure what I think about that. It kind of begs the question of how long it's been since the Lords abandoned their thrones. Just when exactly are we awoken from our own slumber? But enough of that, let's check out this rather cool looking dude who has a bonfire coiled sword stuck through him and some nasty squirming on his back. Let's check it out. Get our hits in. Yes. No reason to play fair. I'm sorry, I'm not depriving you of the experience, am I? Let's try... Oh, it's on the other hand, eh? Let's try some pyromancy. Ah, it's super impressive. Ow. Yeah, you know what? I am going to stop using that. That's not doing me any favors. Ooh. Wouldn't want to die to the first boss now, would we? See you later. Oh no. Air of Fire, huh? And Ember Restored. Yeah, in Dark Souls 3, instead of, you know, reverting from jerky form to human form, you gain this embered status, kind of in place of what would have normally been human form. grants us a little bit of extra HP, a cool little burning effect, and if we were playing online, it would invite invaders into our world. Well, we might see them offline too. Quick check of our firebomb. No real lore here. It's a firebomb. We like them. We'll be getting more. Here's something though. The coiled sword. Sword missing from the shrine bonfire. Cannot be equipped as a weapon, because that's what we all wanted. Thrust into the shrine bonfire to return its power and enable travel between bonfires. This sword is only bequeathed to chosen Ash, as judged by the Eudex, who awaits the arrival of Ash as a scabbard. So, the gentleman we fought there, Eudex Gundyr, was certainly serving as a scabbard for this blade, and seems pretty straightforward that engaging us in a battle was meant to test whether or not we as Enkindled had the mettle to go on and fulfill the duty of reclaiming the lords, linking the fire, all that business. If we didn't, well, we'd never get past here. But we managed to pull it off. Broken straight sword, a classic item. A weapon with no exceptional qualities. Only a mad hollow would choose to fight with this. Fair enough. And I don't mind telling you, there seems to be no situation where you upgrade your broken sword to plus 10 and then you can suddenly turn it into a blue blood sword. Unfortunately. Since I was a huge fan of blue blood sword. Nah. Homeward Bone. I dare say also an undead favorite. Bone fragment reduced to white ash. Return to the last bonfire. Used for resting? The last bonfire used for resting. Let me read properly. Or to the shrine bonfire. Bonfires are sustained by the bones of the undead. In rare cases, their previous owner's strong urge to seek bonfires enchants their bones with a homeward instinct. And this is something we knew since Dark Souls 1, that bonfires are built off of the bones and ashes of unfortunate undead. You know, I don't know why they would have put this guy here except to let players scratch and itch. Feels good. Feels good. Alright, let's clear out some of the dregs here. Hey. Hey. I was wondering if we would get one of these. Sacred Chime for casting miracles of the gods. Chimes such as these are often given to clerics who become undead. Chimes were introduced in Dark Souls 2 as basically a replacement for the casting talismans of the first game. And as I said, not the world's biggest Dark Souls 2 fan, but I have to admit chimes are a way cooler way to cast miracles than scraps of cloth. Oh, bye dog. That said, scraps of cloth are back in this game as well. It's a mix of chimes and cloth. I'm not going to complain too much. Yes, tempting portal, but let's wrap around here real quick. Yeah, we see you back there. We're familiar. very excited to disgrace myself against fighting him. Against fighting him, while fighting him. Let's check this out real quick. That's 55. That's 52. Wow. Wait, is this just a flat... This is just a flat and better shield. Alright. Right, reading it though. A wooden shield decorated with the ancient symbol of the two-headed eagle. Close to a small shield in size. Nothing of note there. It's a shield. Lets us parry, sort of. Is this a... Ah, it's a medium shield. I see. So the small shield here will give us a little bit easier time parrying. More so than... Well, theoretically more so than the medium shield would. Ah, I almost forgot to read us the ember. No unkindled can ever truly claim the embers that burn within a champion's bosom, which is precisely what makes their yearning for warmth so keen. With the strength of fire, invade is gonna invade. Fair enough. Let's head on indoors before we deal with that mysterious stranger. Ooh boy. I love the new Firelink Shrine. I love it a lot. It's just the perfect combination between basically every other hub we've seen in Souls. It's large enough that it's kind of open, feels like it has depth like Majula did. It's tiered in such a way that is extremely reminiscent of the Nexus from Demon Souls. And it's called Firelink Shrine, though there's certainly not as strong a relationship there. Let's talk to this guy.
Ah, another one roused from the sleep of death. Well, you're not alone. We unkindled are worthless. Can't even die right. Gives me conniptions. And they'd have us seek the lords of Cinder and return them to their moulding thrones. But we're talking true legends with the metal to link the fire. Not fit to lick their boots. Don't you think? What a sick joke. Asking us to talk.
Yes. Hello, Crestfallen. But of greater importance.
Welcome to the bonfire, unkindled one. I'm a firekeeper. I tend to the flame, and tend to thee. The lords have left their thrones, and must be delivered to them. To this end, I am at thy side.
Whew. Alright, this is our surrogate Maiden in Black, surrogate Emerald Herald style character. Unlike Dark Souls 1, no leveling up at the bonfires. We need this charming lady in black to help us out with that.
Ashen One, to be unkindled is to be a vessel for souls. Sovereignless souls will become thy strength. I will show thee how. Ashen One, bring me souls plucked from their vessels. Very well. Then touch the darkness within me. Take nourishment from these sovereignless souls.
Touch the darkness within me. Ignoring the obvious Demon Souls callback here, it makes me wonder about that. Like, what is it about the darkness that makes her able to increase our strength through the use of Ona les Souls? I don't know. I'm going to think about that, but I guess, is there a connection between, like, you know, the power of dark, the power of dark sounds like Kingdom Hearts in here, but the nature of darkness and us as player characters reaching our full potential? I don't know. I do know we're going to put ourselves up to 10 dexterity, because you need that to get anywhere in this world. And we'll leave it right there for the moment. I'll think about what I want to do with that.
Farewell, Ashen One. May the flames guide thee.
And I believe if we talk to her...
Ashen One. Produce the coiled sword at the bonfire. The mark of ash will guide thee to the land of the lords. To Lothric, where the homes of the lords converge.
She gives us our little hint too. Yo, just stick the coiled sword in the bonfire there. I think it's interesting that she says, use this to travel to the land of the lords. As far as we can tell, Lothric is just right outside the door here. True, we don't have any direct way to access it from here, but I don't know if that's all it is. Teleport over that, you know, unscalable cliff face, or if there's something else going on, and you'll see later on what makes me think, you know, wonder about that. But for now, we'll just leave that speculation there.
Farewell, Ashen.
Yes, yes. May the flames guide us. There's still a lot to look at, still a lot to figure out here, Firelink Shrine, but let's go ahead and produce this coiled sword. Pop squat real quick. See if we can attune our spells. Burn undead bone shards, which will improve our Estus flask, let us heal more from each individual flask. Organize our storage box, and travel. Alright, that's a good start for us, guys. But I think I'll cut it off here, and we will do more next time. But before we do, I was just going to sign off here. See y'all later.